Whether you're planning for retirement or more basically going to visit grandma, in either case you don't want to put your eggs in one basket. And in the case of both the former and the latter, you will find there is that big bad wolf. You know, there's a reason they do call brokers brokers. They make you broker. And we're going to see there's been some new improvements that make them even more attractive. The first thing to note is that while mutual funds have been around a long, long time, that there's something called ETFs, exchange traded funds. These are often index funds, but with the big difference being is they trade like stocks. And that means you can trade them during the day with limit orders, and particularly unique to ETFs, you can write covered call options against them, unlike, say, mutual funds. And that's a conservative strategy for most investors. And the classic reasoning is that they do minimize risk, whether it's within an industry, within a country, or even better than that, worldwide. The ones that are outside the United States are called international funds, and those that include the United States are called global funds. They provide diversification, which in of itself is not a bad idea, but you know what? They often also provide a better return than if you picked the stocks yourself. And one way to put that is just consider, with a diversified index fund, you always include those hard-to-pick superior winners. That alone is worth the idea of considering them. One study has shown that if you had about 29 securities in your portfolio, you would eliminate about 95% of the diversifiable risk done in a random fashion. That's called naive diversification, choosing them at random. Now consider the trade-off of those two examples. You got, say, 29, okay, make it a dozen, securities in your portfolio, versus one or two mutual funds ETFs. Look at the headache of the paperwork, the reinvesting the dividends. Okay, that's automatic. And by the way, you might not want to reinvest them in the same stock. You might want to use them toward new securities. You would also want to consider that all that paperwork is going to get in the way. Proxy fights, mergers, acquisitions. You have that stuff that you got to respond to. I think I'd like less paperwork. And when I'm saying less paperwork, I'm keeping that separate from filing your taxes. Look at all those entries you have to make for the taxes, albeit recently they've made the consolidated reporting by brokerage firms a lot easier. But I'm still saying it doesn't make the taxes lower. That's another matter. And don't look for tax-efficient funds. You got the tail wagging the dog. And kind of putting this all together is that revisiting the original idea of diversification, we want higher return, less risk, and we have lower fees now. And guess what? In this extreme example, the E here is the worst return, worst risk, but in diversifying gives you a better portfolio choice. And boy, that's the whole idea, isn't it? But wait, there is, as always, more. You might want to consider what are called target-dated funds. They have their critics, and what it does is it kind of automatically lowers the risk as you get older. My suggestion there, don't choose a specific date, spread them around. Secondly, a killer tip is take your age as a percent. Make that the portion that you place in your portfolio of low-risk funds. You could make it higher if you want to sleep well. You could maybe make it lower if you want to eat well. And that's a good tip, and it kind of augments the idea of your target-dated funds. And if you rebalance, remember the tip there is that you automatically buy low and sell high. Why? Rebalancing, you sell the ones that went up, You buy the ones that went down, the idea being just trying to diversify, rebalance the portfolio, and guess what? The benefit of that is you bought low and you sold high. So to recapitulate, you've got now ETFs, exchange-traded funds, and mutual funds, both now available at lower commissions, if not free, with many a discount broker. That the ETFs allow you to trade covered call options. That's a conservative strategy. That if you really think about it, you're probably going to be better off in a mutual fund, which is more likely to include better winners than you'd pick yourself. And, if I can toot my own horn, as though that's ever stopped me, did you notice I think this is only the third time in all my Dr. C Invest videos that I went through a list of bullet points without the bullets. This is Dr. C Invests.